Hey everyone, welcome back to another Lords of War rant video, I guess. That's all we deliver here.
This time we're ranting.
We are ranting.
Yeah,
it's going to be a bit more philosophical today.
Okay.
I think
not a hot
take. No.
Okay.
Well, maybe
just a take.
Just a take. Just a general take.
It could get hot.
Yeah, you can take it as a hot take if you like. And I thought we'd just talk a little bit about sort of a more modern phenomenon, and this could, this could span into the miniatures world, obviously, but it also, you could talk about it in the video game world, pretty much anything, sort of in that sort of like realm. And it's sort of the idea how new releases and sort of this like real fast pace of like almost like a hyper consumerism really starts to like impact the psychology of the hobby, like, and how people interact with it, how people behave with it, how people like perceive it, and sort of like how that kind of impacts people on like, a daily basis, and how they act, and how stores act, and how like the whole ecosystem kind of behaves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a guy watching us right now with like a pair of cutters and sprues and a stack of boxes he hasn't built yet, and he's just like,
he's like, I feel.
Are you talking about me?
No, we're not talking about you. No, you're okay.
Yeah. You keep doing what you're doing for our sake.
I think. So, to put my finger on it, if I had to like say what's the genesis behind this, I think this has obviously been mounting for years. Like, we haven't just got to this moment all at once. It's been a slow, sort of like steady creep, and the way I kind of perceive it happening in regards to like the hobby world is, obviously, you have a moment in history where, like, we used to have releases like once a month.
Yep.
Would be like a typical, like, it was either like the first Saturday or the last Saturday.
Or
something like that.
Yeah. Well, so there's like, I mean, this could be another episode down the line, the vintage days or whatever we could call it. When Chris and I used to work at GW's in our history or whatever, but yeah, basically we slowly but surely got there over, I guess, really, I mean, for me, it's always that 2016, 17 or whenever Games Workshop came back on social media and, started to make everything started coming out like at a much more breakneck pace or whatever. But prior to that, it was like, there was like one kind of big-ish release each month, and then we were in this funny era, other intermediate era, I remember with the weekly White Dwarf, and they would try and like have once a week little $5 White Dwarf that was just focused on kind of like what was coming out, I guess.
And I think the concept behind that, so this was, it's a good kind of thing to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it was that sort of bridge to the new era.
Yeah.
And what they had originally like kind of played around with was breaking up that 1 month, like that one day.
Yes.
And basically they took it and they just, instead of releasing more things, I think what they did is essentially they just sprinkled the same release out over the course of that month, right? And then the weekly White Dwarf kind of sold each thing. It's like, oh, here's the army book. This focuses on this. And then the next week you'd come back, you'd get like the foot troops or whatever. And
let's like whatever, like if Space Wolves, because I just think remember, let's say Space Wolves in, I don't know, fifth ed probably, or even Necrons or whatever, they were like, I think there was like, I don't know, a bunch of new kits, 6, 7, or 8 new kits, plus the army book or whatever, and that was like stretched out. That was not. Now it's a Saturday. Now it's like 12 things one Saturday. The next Saturday is another 12 things. Right?
Has nothing to do with Necrons.
Yeah. They're just like like so you have very little time to digest it or even like, and then now I mean there's other things. There's like probably more people. The demand is probably higher for Games Workshop in general than before because of their massive like IP penetration, I guess we're going to call it, like the number of video games people are playing, the TV shows that are coming, all this stuff. But so like the flip side of that now is like you are in this mode where if you don't pre-order and get the thing now, then you just kind of miss it, and it comes back months later, but the FOMO is kind of over with, and then you move on with, I don't know, it's like, it's a really weird.
Even speaking outside of Games Workshop, this phenomenon kind of is how a lot of companies are operating now, right? Like, so you have even like Asmodee and stuff like that, where they highly prioritize their newest thing that they're working on. So whether it's like, Shatter, so they had Legion, and then like Marvel Crisis Protocol comes along, that gets all the love for like 2 years. And other games kind of get neglected, and then you have the same thing happen with Shatterpoint, where then Marvel's neglected for a year, and you have this really interesting like phenomenon that develops, and what I've noticed, and obviously we're speaking from like a really small window here where we don't see outside of our own like shop, other than chatting with like a few people we know in the industry, and what you start to see is that like either I was kind of commenting about how these customers are like, I was almost calling them like Asmodee customers, like they're almost like transient in a way where like they just get kind of like used to that, and they just kind of hop to whatever the new game is, and then they're just playing that. So it almost creates this. They're almost like creating their own customer that does that in a way by acting that way.
Yeah, it's
right?
weird. It's like
Because in a very real terms, the other games, you see the sales like drop off a cliff.
Yeah,
like, and we're talking like a cliff.
like whatever. Yeah, we've seen it with. I mean, that we use just that. There's other companies too, but just that one is like, obviously before that we had Fantasy Flight, and Fantasy Flight was already kind of started this up. But you had people. Yeah, I remember, X-Wing, and then it was like, it was all new, and then they kind of ran out of content, and then it fell off, and then they did a 2.0, and it kind of came back, and then that ran out of content and it fell off, and then Legion came, and like they just like hopped to the next, like you said, right? So, I mean, it might be tough because like Games Workshop's advantage is the massive history they have. Like, there are people that just read the books and just just consume the IP in so many different ways, and you've got old world people digging up their armies. Like, you won't see that in any other no other game will get to have that kind of thing, right? And but it's when everything's so new release driven, it feels weird. Like if you're not doing the new thing, then you're not doing nothing. It's like, for Chris and I, it's weird because we're just used to like, that army you bought is like this like interesting investment. You would invest in it, right, and invest your time and money, and it would like, it's something you were like gonna hang on to, and that's why I don't feel rushed, I guess. Like, I get excited about things too, but
sure.
I might work on an army for like most of like the better part of a year, and it might be like not even a great army. It might be last year's army that came out that I just have gotten to, and right. I think I'm always trying to tell people that they'll get maybe more fulfillment that way than having to constantly just jump onto the new thing. I mean, it's different if you play a lot of competitive games, I guess. Yeah. Where you kind of have to shift and move, but it definitely, there was a turning point where it feels exhausting now. It's just like you got to get on the next thing.
And there's this real sense I feel that people have this, whether they're acknowledging it or not. Mm-hmm. I don't know that people are fully aware, but like this idea that games that don't have a constant release are basically dead. Yeah. Right. And this relationship that like you can only participate in things if they're sort of in like the cultural eye or in the sort of like social media spin. Mm-hmm. You have to be doing what everybody else is doing, right? There's a real pressure to do that because unlike when we were younger and kind of there was no driver like that really online. It was just kind of like White Dwarf or like our local community that was driving. You have a real sense of like, if you're just following Warhammer community or you're on your forums or you're following like Instagram people that, remember, social media people are getting all the new stuff for free and showing it off, right? So there's this real churn kind of everywhere where people are really incentivized to kind of push the newest thing over the older stuff that's still very much for sale on shelves. And this is the thing that kind of like I kind of step back and think about, because it's not like people. It's not like hobby shops or like retailers or whatever. It's not like we're necessarily making more money doing it this way. No, you know what I mean. Like that's the thing. It's it like for me, it doesn't matter whether you buy the new Tyranid Big Gribbly or you buy the old one, right? Or it's just a matter of perspective and sort of like where your hobby mind is at, right? And more than ever, we like as like a small little shop, we have a lot less control over something like that now than probably ever in the history of the hobby, right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It's just the it's interesting about the the games that are maybe aren't getting as many releases. So you think of like maybe Necromunda or some of the specialist games. I'm like, the irony is they're kind of like, after some point when they've gotten enough stuff released, they're kind of like, I don't want to say completed, but they're like, that's the good time to jump in because you've got all these options and stuff's already out and you're not waiting for for the next thing, you can kind of like, and yeah, you get something new here and there, but like some of these games, I feel like it's a more complete experience. It's like buying the. It's like, it's funny, we complain about video games at release and are incomplete, and then you're waiting for the DLC. I'll wait for the DLC before I buy it. But then some of these older miniature games are the complete game with all the DLCs, and you could buy it and enjoy it like with all the cool stuff already. Yep. But instead we're so fixated on like, no, I need the... But there's a new Marine book coming or something.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that's a really fascinating point, and I you see it all the time, especially with like specialist games, like, or what they call them, box games.
Yeah.
Where you don't have, you have this like super incomplete experience in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a promise that you're like buying into, and the promise is exciting, and they seem to have like things are just massively popular with that for initial promise. And then, like Jay said, as they start to fill out the range and make the game actually really good and complete, people just don't care. Like it doesn't. They don't have the same.
It's like look at Heresy right now. You got so many. We got assault marines. We got jet bikes. We got Scorpius. And well, maybe not released, but we haven't got any more.
Let's not talk about the Scorpius.
But the Land Raiders. There's Light Lancers. Like it's like when we started the game last year. Well, when we jumped back into it. We spent so much time filling in holes and like, wow, we don't have this yet. We don't have what's coming, but I don't know these stupid extra conversion piece and blah 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 and extra heroes, and now they're here now, and I see like you would think that people would be jumping into HH more than ever now, and it's kind of like not quite. It's like the hype kind of, we have Horus Heresy customers that are going to be fans and they're going to buy the new stuff as it comes in, but I'm not seeing the like clamoring to get the new to buy the starter box and all that stuff. So it's kind of like. And they gave people an excuse with that box that came out with the new Mark IIIs and the Dare, or whatever, which is basically a starter box, effectively. Yeah. Like here's an army in a box that you can play. But I don't know. That's I wonder why the mentality is like.
I really do think it's just the content we're just being wired, right? Like I think it's just enough repetitions. We're getting hit by so many fancy cool things all the time, and it's I think it's hard for people to shut that out. And I guess just challenge people, in their own way to like think about where do you think your enthusiasm comes from? Where do you think it's generated from? And do you think it's a healthy enthusiasm? Do you think like it doesn't ever last long for you? And I would urge people to try to find almost like outside sources, like try to find like friends that give you that enthusiasm. Because I honestly some of the best, most like organic hobby I see where people get a lot done, they have really meaningful sort of like experiences, is when they have like a local friend group that they just like play with all the time. And they honestly, like, you see those guys come in, or they come in and they basically, they're just like, I'm playing my buddy next week, I'm gonna pick up like a Wraith Knight or something because I want to beat my friend. And it's got like, this person is literally like, it's almost like being disconnected from the Matrix at this point. You know what I mean?
They're just like, I could just
this person got free. And you just kind of look at them, you're like, whoa, you're free?
You're free.
You're free from the Matrix?
It's true. They just play how they want.
And I do have, like, there's more customers. There's quite a few customers that are in that situation that I think that's a really like great place to get to if you can, where you have this sort of like, either it's self-driven or group-driven hobby where you kind of make and I think goals are still important, and you kind of make your own little goals and you have your own little, thing going on. That seems to be the kind of dream place to be, I think.
No, it's for sure. And I mean, look, new stuff's always going to be exciting, but like, the other thing I always tell people is like, no matter what it is, generally speaking, like, if you miss it, it's fine. Like, it'll still be like a lot of the. I mean, new GW is a little interesting because some things do rotate out eventually a little quicker than they used to. Like you're probably not going to see that many certain model kits stay on their website for 10 plus years anymore. Like even after 5 years, sometimes they'll start retiring some things that aren't selling well. But generally speaking, like you can work on the army you like now, and if a new army comes out today, you could probably wait 6 months to jump on that one. Now, I'm not saying to stop spending money at the store, but what I'm just saying is you can do it in a more at a pace that makes more sense. It's more enjoyable, frankly. Unless it shouldn't be stressful. It should be like, I like this, I want to do this, and because it's fun. And
I think like I mean, for me at least, the pandemic was a really sort of like healthy, without like having events to go to, like our little annual thing. It really did force me personally to take a long, hard look at like almost like my motivations behind the hobby. Like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I doing this for? And I found like when I went back to my sort of like raw, like I just started painting like interesting models. Like I wasn't necessarily like painting an army or doing like a specific thing, and that felt good for a while. And so I think every once in a while it's good to kind of take a look and say like, okay, what are my motivators? Like, what's kind of getting me to do this hobby? Is it just Warhammer community?
Oh yeah,
who might have not the best intentions? Is it your influencers or your streamers or whatever that like while having the best intentions and just like having a business just like us are have some things pushing them from behind as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'll end it on just sort of like the idea of these like dead war games. It's kind of fascinating to me. Like I have people, for example, come in and tell me all the time, like X game, it's so great, and you're like, why don't people play it anymore? And it's like, well, are you playing it? It's
I don't
like
know.
Kind of an interesting.
We're also we're in a funny era again. Yeah, where I don't know if it's because Games Workshop's all consuming or whatever. Even in our store, we literally another wall got filled with specialist games and products over the last couple of years. That used to be other games, and it's just kind of, I don't know if that's the main culprit or what it is, but I get that thing a lot. People are like, oh, who's why is this game quiet or whatever? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like it's just like, but then again, like I guess just because it's not being played like necessarily often at the store doesn't mean like there aren't fans of it or people at home like quietly. Like there's a lot of like there I know of games that we used to sell, people still have collections of or whatever, but like if we run events or do things or if the product stops selling, then what are we supposed to do? Like it's if we run events and people don't show up, or if the product stops selling, we have to make those decisions. We have to liberate the space for something else.
Well, and it's a great example, and I remember like X-Wing being a specific example of this. Is like for like 6 to 8 months. We had X-Wing on the wall for quite a while since we opened. Yeah, and then there was like a 6 to 8 month period where like no one bought anything. Like
nothing.
I'm not even kidding. Like we're talking like zero things.
It is zero, yeah.
And then we just were like, okay, like at some point you can't counteract these forces as a business, right? Like so, you start to become almost complicit in some of this stuff because like if a product isn't selling, you kind of have to move on to something else, right? Like you don't have a lot of choices.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is in the video game world, like some video games, people they move on to other games.
Yes.
So that must be it.
That is it. Yeah, 100%.
The player base just drops because they're like, whatever. There's another, I don't know. If Diablo 5 comes out tomorrow, maybe people stop playing Diablo 4. Like it's just like that, right?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
They just drop it or whatever, and that's the one that's like so hard to tap.
And I do think like that's okay too, right?
Yeah.
Like that is okay. Like I think like
it's like a very
Games Workshop
thing that happens, or
100%. And Games Workshop's given us like this tremendous history of like up until very recently, like your models kind of just lasted forever, right? Like if you had a space marine, and it's still pretty much true until today, but like if you had a space marine from 2nd edition, it didn't really expire.
No.
But like, let's be real and compare that to almost anything else. Like, when has that ever else been true, right? Like, so that almost created like this like false expectation, I think, in the miniature hobby, where like the expectation is like, I bought these models, they should be good forever, and they should be relevant forever. That's the other big thing, right? Which is, I think, that might be a whole other video about like when fantasy died. That was really the big thing that people are upset about. Is like you just killed my models. That there was almost like this broken promise. You know what I mean? That people felt like that it was supposed to be forever, right? Yeah. So I think that we're entering the realm where there's a lot more miniature companies that understand that those models aren't forever, and not that they disintegrate after 5 years, but the game that they support, they might not support that game forever.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit, maybe because of the ease of making models, you have like a bit of a card game thing where they can just make new sets and rotate out sets in a way, and so it's like again, like Chris and I played lots of Magic, and we play Flesh and Blood and other card games. Like sometimes cards just like go like there's either better versions come out and you don't use the old ones anymore, or they get rotated out because of the format you play, or something gets banned, and you're just like, oh, I might have to actually change my deck.
That's right.
Sometimes or whatever.
Shocking, right? Shocking.
Yeah. So
and I think like if you're a company that manufactures these things, and you're understanding. Maybe you were partly complicit in creating this atmosphere, but at the end of the day, your goal is to maintain the customers you have, and if you're not giving them interesting new things to consume, and other companies are putting that stuff out there, you're they go into a different bucket, right? So it's like, so there is this kind of like constant need to kind of reinvent the wheel, and that's going to keep happening. So I guess the only thing you can do is like, think about yourself and how you're getting enthusiastic about the hobby and making sure that you're not just, I guess, chasing the dragon as we all call it.
Chasing the dragon.
Not that I don't ever chase the dragon.
No, never. No.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little ranty. It was a little rambly. Let us know if you like these types of videos and if you want more long-winded ones like this that are a bit more philosophical. And like and subscribe. That helps us out a lot. Until next time, take care.
Bye.